Hey there, Curvis, and welcome to the 102nd episode of the Curve the Cube podcast. This is your host, Jemmy, and on today's episode, we have my brand new bestie, Eddie Wilcox. So, I don't know if you guys are aware, but there's this meetup group that I lead called the Palm Beach Podcasters, and we met up at this wonderful little coffee shop in Delray called the Coffee District. And our barista, I'm not really sure, his name is Adam, and he is fantastic. And at the end of our meetup, I mentioned to him, what I do and how I love podcasting, and gave him my card, and he's like, oh my gosh, you should totally have my buddy Eddie on your podcast. I'm like, what does he do? And he gave me his backstory, and I was like, oh my gosh, yes, please, please, please. And Eddie called me the very next day, and his energy on the phone was just out of this world. You'll hear me talk about it in the beginning of our conversation, but basically, listen, folks, you need to be motivated to follow your passion and your dreams and do what you were put on this earth to do. And if anybody has a convincing story for that, it's Eddie. Oh my gosh, I don't want to spill the beans. I'll let him tell his own story. But let's put it this way. At the end of recording, he had some buddies with him who were sitting by, and one of us had us on Facebook Live. It was pretty funny. But afterwards, he turned to his buddies and he mentioned how a couple of them had been tearing up, and I was like, oh, thank God I didn't turn and see that, because I would have absolutely teared up too. That's how powerful his message is. So I have to allow one caveat. We went back and recorded this at the Coffee District, and it was very quiet, and as I was setting up, and before I knew it, almost, I swear, it was just like they all descended as soon as I hit record. So I apologize for the audio of this. Eddie and I were wearing lav mics, but it still seemed to pick up a lot of the extra atmosphere that I like a little bit of a din, but there definitely are moments that are a little bit much, and in fact, my diehard listeners will probably be able to tell somewhat towards the beginning that there's a moment where I'm very distracted by what's going on. And I'm like, no! But it's okay. We trudged through and ended up with a wonderful, wonderful expression of life and meaning and all of that, and what Eddie was put on this earth for, and how he views his life, and what has prompted him, what major events in his life have prompted him to have a new course. And man, to be around him is to feel just a separate, special energy. You just know this guy's a little extra, and I was so happy to be in his presence. So I know there's some audio issues on this episode. I apologize for that. I take full responsibility. But with that said, be sure and listen to every single word. Soak up all the Eddie you can get. And as soon as he has social media established and a Facebook page established, I will be sure to go back and update the show notes with all of those links, or mention it in a future episode or something, because he's a guy that everybody should be around. But I will tell you this. I've wanted for a long time for there to be a stand-up comic on my podcast. And guess what? Today I have one. So with that, I will say sit back and relax and enjoy this episode number 102 with the wonderful, just super energized, lovely, lovely Eddie Wilcox. Enjoy.
Curve the Cube will now initiate.
Hi, Eddie.
Hi, Jenny. Very nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you too.
Very nice to meet you.
I'm so excited that you're here.
I am too.
Let me tell you. So before we get into anything else,
Okay.
I was so happy when I talked to you on the phone yesterday.
Right.
I was at a client's office, and after we got off the phone, I went back in and had the biggest smile on my face. And he's like, "What has gotten into you?" And I'm like, "The guy I just talked to on the phone was like the nicest person ever." Like that just made my day.
I really appreciate
And so
that.
I was curious, like, are you just naturally open? Like, where does that come from?
I think that, a big part of it is being so.
Yeah.
I think that a big part of it for me is just being able to be myself.
Yeah.
And I think that when I am myself, I'm a good-hearted person.
Yeah.
And I love people.
Yeah.
I think that's a gift that I've always had is having a heart. So.
Is becoming more open, is this all part of a consequence of the recovery journey? Is that part of this? Because it feels like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I almost got the sense that you're kind of discovering yourself all over again.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah, okay.
You're absolutely right. And a big part of it, is I've been lost for years.
Mm-hmm.
I've been lost for a long time. I've hurt my family. I've hurt people. And I didn't know who I was. And
right.
the thing is, I didn't love Eddie. And that's something that getting sober, exactly, it's a discovery of myself.
Yeah.
And being real.
Yeah.
My father used to say to me that I lost my spirit. And now I have my spirit.
Has he told you that now?
Oh, yeah.
Good.
So that is definitely I'm very grateful for that.
That's amazing.
When I put the substances down, I'm able to find out who I really am.
Yeah.
And who I really am is a generous person. I love people.
It's good.
Thank you.
Was this who you were before the drugs, and you're remembering that, or is this just a whole new, brand new Eddie that we're all so privileged to now know?
Right. Thank you so much. The thing is with that is before the drugs, I was a great kid.
Yeah.
Now I'm a great person, but I'm also able to share my experience with other people.
Right.
So I think it is a whole new era. I think it's a whole new person because I'm able to find out who I really am.
Right.
Opposed to being a young kid and just playing sports and not really knowing who I was, but having a good spirit.
Right.
Now I'm blessed to have a good spirit and to be able to share that with other people.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the gift.
Absolutely. I think, and having talked to other people who've been through recovery and who've been addicted in the past, it almost feels like, especially if they got addicted at a young age, before they knew themselves. Yeah, it almost seems like in the course of finding themselves, they completely got veered off and found and allowed the drugs to define who they were, and instead of really evolving as a whole human being. Versus, do you mind? Do you feel comfortable sharing your story with my audience?
Absolutely. I was about 12 years old, and my mother had walked out of my life. She was in a very abusive relationship, and when she left, I got, and I can say this on camera, I got molested at a very young age. So when I was able to find a drink, I didn't have to think about anything that was going on.
Right. It numbed everything.
Right. So from the minute that I was 12 years old, I drank. And when I drank, I drank with excess.
You said it was like a lit comedy podcast, and then you told me about over here.
And when I found substances,
so, what's
I
lit
found
about
pills.
This? What are you guys doing?
And I found
This is supposed to be like a lit comedy podcast.
Other outlets. I couldn't stop. I was very addicted.
How quickly between that first drink and the other?
It wasn't long. I got introduced to Vicodin, and I got introduced to Percocet, and I went to my first rehab when I was 14 years old.
14
years old.
Where was it?
It was in Massachusetts.
Is that where you're from?
Yeah, I'm
so
from Boston.
Okay.
Malden, Massachusetts.
Oh, you're from, duh. How did I not? Why? That was like probably the dumbest question. I mean, hello, accent right in my face. Everyone who's listening right now was like, really?
Right. So, when I got out, I continued, and when I continued, I got introduced to heroin. And when I got introduced to heroin, I started messing around with needles.
Oh my gosh.
Right. And it became a daily thing where I hurt people. But most of all, and the most important thing is, in my opinion, is that I hurt myself. And that's really all my loved ones care. Is they don't care about, they do care about what I did to them, of course, because relationships are everything.
Right.
But what my family really cares about is they want Edward to love Edward. And, so my story is, I do have 2 older sisters, I could not stop using it. And just until, I had some clean time, I ran the treatment center, and I relapsed after almost a year, and 3 overdoses since then.
Wow.
And the thing is with the overdoses is, and I'll share it because hopefully somebody can get something on this, and that's really why I do all this.
Yeah.
That's why I do the comedy. That's why I do everything, is to bring sober people together and show people that we can have fun in recovery.
Yeah.
We don't need drugs or alcohol.
Do you think that's a huge... What was the huge resistance for you? I was kind of assuming here that you had a resistance to recovery. What was, if you did, what was the huge resistance? Was it the fear of, well, I'm not going to enjoy myself as much if I'm in recovery? Or like, what do you think that was?
Absolutely, you're right. I didn't even know how to talk to people. I didn't know how to get a job.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to feel alive. I didn't know how to look in the mirror and say, okay, I like myself. But when I put that drug in me, I liked myself for that 20 minutes.
Right.
But that changes. It gets to the point where you use that drug and you hate yourself.
Right.
And you hate that you do it.
Right.
And you know what? Thank God that I got out of that today.
Yeah.
Anything can happen at any given time, but for the grace of God and for the people around me, I'm sober.
Yeah.
So when I got sober this time, I said to myself, I'm going to start to learn to like myself.
Right.
So when I look in that mirror in the morning, I say, all right, I love you. And that's a daily reprieve. That's a work in progress. I'm not there yet. I have a lot of work to do. But I'm definitely on that journey.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful to say that.
I'm so grateful that you're saying that too.
Thank you.
How long have you been in recovery?
Now I got about 2 months sober. But I've been in and out of recovery my whole life. When I was 5 years old, I used to go to AA meetings with my mother.
Wow.
When my mother was in recovery.
Wow. So there's a family component to it.
Big time.
Yeah.
My mother's father died from alcohol. My mother is just 7 months old.
What about your sisters? Are they?
You
don't have to say anything.
Of course, my sisters are not addicted. My sisters are very successful. And they really are like, they're my everything.
Aww.
I love my sister Gina, my sister Nicole. They both have 2 kids. They are like my rocks.
Yeah. So how has you've been, did you move down here specifically for the recovery? Because I know Delray has been coined the recovery capital of America.
I did. I got in some trouble back home. I was 17 years old. My family wanted me to go to the Salvation Army program. I had court issues and I ran. And I got.
I don't mean to be completely ignorant, but what is the Salvation Army program? Because I hear Salvation Army, I think the recovery stuff or the
Right. The Salvation Army has a store, which is kind of like if for the people that don't have money. You can go in and get clothes for cheap.
Right.
But they also have in Massachusetts. They have a rehab. That's you don't pay for it. Okay. It's kind of like state run.
Okay.
It's 6 months, and a lot of people get sober through it. I was 17 years old. I was young. I wanted to get out. So I ran.
Yeah.
And I came down here, and I've been running my whole life.
Yeah.
So finally, I'm in a spot right now where I don't want to run.
That's good.
Because anywhere I run, I bring myself with me.
Yeah.
And I think that's what even people that aren't in recovery don't understand.
Yeah.
That, you can move to, a mansion in California.
Right.
On a mountain.
Right.
And you can still be miserable.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's the thing is that a lot of people don't understand that they bring themselves with them everywhere.
Right. You have to be happy with you.
That's right.
What was the point that you think that finally switched?
And here's the thing with me. I've always had it in my heart, deep in my heart.
First of all, I love the way you're saying heart. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that's okay. In my heart, I've always said to myself that I know that I'm worthy.
Yeah.
Deep down.
Yeah.
Even though my head told me otherwise. So I think that this time when I went into this, I said to myself, you know what? It's time to let that out. You know, it's time to really let those inner feelings out and love yourself.
Yeah.
But not just love yourself in your heart, start to love yourself in your head.
Yeah.
And when those bad thoughts come, you push them out. Or you talk to somebody about it. Because what I'll do is I'll let a situation control me. If I have a bad conversation with somebody, it can ruin my day.
Right.
And that is everyday life for everybody.
Right.
People argue. And that's something that I just need to understand is that this is life.
Right.
And I want to be a part of it.
Right.
You know?
Not everything goes your way, and it's all about how you react to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your reaction. And if I'm hurting somebody.
Right.
And what I said to my father the other day is that what I said to my father the other day is that I actually feel like I'm finally living in a normal life. And that is, you know, that's amazing to me. And he laughed.
Yeah.
Normal. He was like, yeah, well, you know, you're a normal human being. And I said, yeah, thank God.
Have you been able to go back and see them since you've been in recovery?
Multiple times in the past.
Okay.
Right now, I'm planning to go up in January to see my family.
Does it make you nervous? Because something I have heard is that when you're in recovery, you can be very successful, but then you can fall back into the danger when you head back into your old environment. Does it make you nervous to go back to Boston?
It doesn't, and I'll tell you why. Because I've used narcotics down here. I've used narcotics in New Jersey.
You have a network already down here if that was what you were going to do.
Exactly, and that like goes back to what I said, that I bring myself with me everywhere.
Yeah.
So if I'm in a good state of mind and I'm sober and I'm clean, I can go anywhere. You know, because the temptations are everywhere.
Yeah.
You walk into a coffee shop, there's a bar.
Right.
You know, you walk into a bar, there's women.
Right.
You know, you walk in anywhere, and the normal thing is for people to have a drink together.
Yeah.
So the temptations are everywhere, but when I can learn to get through them, I can go anywhere.
That's true.
You know, so it really doesn't scare me too much about going back to
That's
Boston.
great. That's amazing. I love that.
Thank you.
So how has comedy kind of come into play with your life?
Well, a day at a time. You know, the comedy is something that my whole life people have told me, Eddie, you got to do comedy.
Okay.
You have to do comedy. And, you know, I said, all right. So 2.5 years ago when I was sober, I used to do it frequently.
Yeah.
And finally I said to myself, I told my friends when I got out in treatment, I said, just sign me up. Don't even tell me when it is. Just sign me up. I got up there. I did great.
Oh my God.
And
you didn't get nervous?
I get a little nervous beforehand, but then once I'm there and the people are there, I get very excited. I start drinking some caffeine.
Oh, you feed off the crowd.
I do, for sure.
Amazing.
For sure. So we did it again last night, and I won first place, and it was great. But thank you. But and I definitely I plan on really starting to excel with this. But the real reason why I do that is to get a network of sober people together to have fun.
Okay, so can I point out the obvious?
Yes. Yes.
The comedy circuit is not necessarily the first place I would look for a network of sober people. Am I incorrect?
No, you're absolutely
okay.
Right. But what I'm saying is I invite sober people.
This is true.
No, you're absolutely right. No, you're 100% right. You go to the comedy club, everyone's drunk.
So, I mean, and it kind of speaks to your other point, because you're saying that you're comfortable enough to go back to Boston knowing that you used there because you've used here and everything. So it leads me to believe that you have enough strength and now self-love that if you're in a comedy club or whatever and that's going on, that you can walk away.
Absolutely. Right. And that's one of the things that when I got clean, I realized that life doesn't stop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People are going to drink beer.
Yeah.
And I need to be okay with that at some point. You know, and the way I look at it is when I see people drinking in that sort of environment, they can drink. I can't. I go from 0 to winner when I start drinking.
0 to what?
0 to winner.
0 to winner.
Right.
I like it.
So, you know, I know what happens to me when I pick up a drink. So, it really doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. What do you tell jokes about? What does your comedy tend to be about?
Well,
Don't hold back. I see you almost holding back. Don't hold back.
I like to definitely talk about some crazy stuff.
All right.
Which gets people's attentions.
Yeah.
Attention because they're shocked.
Yeah.
Well, the people that know me aren't too shocked. But the people
Like,
right. But the people that don't know me
Yeah.
are in for something wild. So I definitely talk about some crazy stuff.
Like.
A lot of sexual preferences.
All right.
Driving drunk. Right.
All right.
Yeah, a lot of just things that I can look back now at,
Yeah.
which were not funny at the time.
Yeah.
But looking back now in a clear head, you have to be able to laugh about some stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I can't take life too serious.
So if you get off stage and you made jokes about stuff that you have used to experience, you used to do, whatever.
Right.
Do you ever feel like when you get off stage that people are expecting you to still be that person when you talk to them?
No.
Yeah.
People that don't know me yet.
Yeah.
But people that do know me,
Yeah.
I can get very serious. And that's a gift that I have. I can turn it off like that. Do you know what I mean? Like I said, like I was telling you earlier before we started recording, I can be serious when it's time to be serious, and I can be funny when it's time to be funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because ultimately, like at the end of the day, my situation is not a joke. But like I said, if you can bring people together, which usually what I do is I network a crowd of sober people together. So, say if there's 20 people drinking, well, we got 75 people that have Red Bulls in their hand.
There you go.
So, we just laugh and we have fun in sobriety.
Yeah.
And to show everybody that you don't have to avoid bars or you don't have to avoid clubs. Just
To my listeners, that word was bars.
Bars. Right. I'm sorry. Let me pronounce that correctly. Bars. Right.
I couldn't help it. Couldn't help myself.
You're absolutely right. I'm trying to work on it. I should start taking a speech class.
No, you shouldn't. You're perfect. So, when did you start getting into comedy? You said you kind of liked it when you were younger. Like, how old were you?
Yeah, I liked it when I was younger. I think I was 21? No, I was 20. And, but I always used to, do it in a crowd of people.
Yeah.
We would set up, a little stage and I'd do it.
No way.
Oh, yeah. And it was great. So, when I got sober previously, I knew that it was a gift for me. I knew that it was something that could make people laugh, and I enjoy to do it. That's kind of like my new hobby.
Yeah.
I get high off doing comedy.
That's good.
And it's great. It's natural happiness.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Thank you.
I can only imagine the natural happiness that occurred after winning first place last night.
I was very excited. We're going to go have a nice dinner after this.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very well deserved, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
definitely.
you. Yeah.
Definitely. So who do you look up to in comedy? Who would you say that your kind of style is similar to, or?
I love Cat Williams.
Okay.
I love Cat Williams.
He's a different kind of cat.
He is. He's a different kind of cat, and I am as well. So, I love Kevin Hart. I love Kevin Hart. He's a riot.
Heart.
Hearts. Right.
Okay, I'm gonna stop. I can't help it. So Kevin Hart, yeah, okay.
Right. But Cat Williams is wild.
Yeah.
And he's kind of a nut job.
Yeah.
Like myself.
It's interesting that you mentioned those two, because those two in particular, when they're doing their comedy, their faces are like half the comedy. Like the way that they'll pause and be like, make a facial expression,
right?
And then it just makes the crowd die laughing. Do you use facial expressions in your comedy?
I do.
I
Definitely do. I definitely use facial expressions, and it's great because some people won't make eye contact with me because they think I'm going to call them out.
Oh, yeah.
Which I do.
Yeah.
I like to pick on people here and there. Not too bad. Just have some fun.
Do people pick on you? Do you ever get heckled?
By other comedians?
Comedians, audience members, what have you?
Other comedians, oh yeah.
Yeah?
That's why I don't like to go first.
Yeah?
Because I like to see other comedians go at me.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what to say in return, so they rethink if they're ever going to do that again.
Oh, well, all right.
You know,
I need to see you in action.
Oh, absolutely. But no, growing up, I never got to.
Yeah.
Never.
That's good.
Yeah.
Where did you do it last night?
We did it at, no, last night was at Honey.
Okay.
The Club Honey on Atlantic Ave. It was a great night. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went last. No, I went second to last. And
is that a comedy club or is that?
No, that's just a club.
Okay.
But they have like comedy night.
Okay. Is this something that's kind of more recently coming about? I don't know why it's not on my radar that they do comedy nights and stuff.
I think that's recent.
Okay.
I think they kind of just started doing this. I think it's once a month. It's the first Thursday every month.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
And so you just, sign up and then you just go?
I have a friend of mine that hosts a lot of shows, and he thinks I'm hilarious. So I said, Mike, I want to come tonight. So he...
This Mike?
No.
Okay.
No, not this Mike. This is like my brother. A friend of mine that hosts shows.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great. So we all got ready. We all got haircuts. My buddy Jimmy's a barber.
Nice.
We call him Jimmy Cuts.
I love it.
So we all went out and we had a great time, and it really was one of the best nights I've had in a long time.
So what do you want to do with your comedy? Are you just enjoying the moment, or do you actually have plans for this?
I definitely have plans.
Yeah.
When we sat down together, me and Austin, and me and Adam, and me and some other people, we said, if I do this, which I said, we're going to make this like a movement. We're really going to excel with it. And this is how I turn this into recovery. When we wanted our drugs, we got our drugs. Mm-hmm. When we want to get sober, we want to get sober. If we want to excel at something, which I'm sure is hard, but if we put half of the effort into getting somewhere in comedy that we did it and chasing that drug every day, we're going to make it.
Yeah. Because, you probably, walked down endless streets and talked to endless people and made endless phone calls, right?
Absolutely.
And walked into random weird places. And
walked in the blizzard, walked in snow.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. I used to ride a bike. 16 miles every morning.
Wow. Just for the drug.
Just to go get a bicycle. Normal bicycle.
Wow.
And at one point I had to drive down Route 1, which is kind of like a highway.
Yeah.
And I would drive 16 miles every day. It's my drug deal. Right.
Wow.
So if we can put 8 miles a day
right.
into something productive and something that means something to us, we're gonna go.
Yeah. I love that.
Thank you.
I love that. So when I was maybe, I think I just graduated, so I was probably 21.
Right.
I was not moving back to my parents. And I found an affordable apartment in Delray, the wonderful city of Delray.
Absolutely.
Having no idea whatsoever that it was also the quote-unquote recovery capital of America.
Right.
And I didn't have a corporate job for too long. There was a whole sexual harassment thing, so important. But after I left that job, I started waitressing. Right? Just because you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, right.
Well, in waitressing in Delray, you're going to be around a lot of people who either are in recovery or probably should be in recovery.
And that's you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. It's the recovery capital, but it's the relapse capital.
Yes. And
with everything good, it always can match up with anything bad.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I'm still very much this person, but in my early 20s, I was very much this person, just super innocent, super I'm embracing and loving everybody, which I think is how you should be, but because of that, I hung out with people in recovery or in need of recovery all the time. I didn't discriminate.
Right.
If you're a good person, I didn't care what you walked away and did in the bathroom for 10 minutes and came back. It didn't matter to me.
Right.
But what's interesting is like my eyes kind of got to open about the problem, because it's like in certain neighborhoods here, like one house is full of kids on recovery,
and
the next house over, yes,
exactly,
completely crazy to me. And I was like, how do people who are serious about their recovery
stay sober in that environment?
How do they even have a chance?
Right.
Like, it seems like all the cards are stacked against you, because there's this open wound, right, of these people who are in recovery. So of course all the leeches, this is exactly where they need to be,
exactly,
so they can take advantage. How have you survived this recovery down here?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, just like you said, and when people ask me what's El Rey's like, this is how I describe it. You can go down a nice street and it's beautiful.
Yeah. Turn one corner.
And you can take one corner and there's drug dealing, right? And you can take one corner and you're right in the hood.
Yeah.
And there's people offering you drugs, there's people getting high, and that's, that for me was very hard to stay sober. Hard. was very tough to stay sober through. Yeah. Because, like I said, with so much recovery, there's so much relapse.
Right.
So I just had to get, and like we were talking about earlier, I had to get immune to the fact that there are drugs everywhere.
Right.
And thank God that we live in a good location where there's not too many drug dealers around there. And this was my experience when I first got down there. I would be 90 days sober, walking into a 7-Eleven and have some kid offering me out, and I would take it. And that's the thing.
I mean, and that's what's the scariest part about it.
Definitely.
How do you know that's really what it is?
Exactly.
How do you know it's not going to? I mean, yes, heroin could kill you in and of itself, but how do you know it's not something else that?
Well, you make a great point, and just this month in October, there's been over 19 deaths just in Delray.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah. I've overdosed 3 times in the past year, previous to me getting sober. We don't know what's in it. And the sad thing is that we really don't care.
Yeah.
When we buy that drug, we're going to use it. And that's, it's sad.
So this was the first time I ever kind of had a little bit of a clue into how fragile that strength that someone in recovery really needs.
Right.
So I was living in this apartment complex, and again, very naive, had no idea.
Right.
That this van that was out there every morning was for people in recovery. Had no idea.
Oh yeah.
Saw it every day.
They call that the druggie buggy.
The druggie buggy. I had no idea. And I was riding in the elevator one day with two of the guys from the druggie buggy, and one was extraordinarily hot, and we started talking a little bit, right? Heavy pot user, raising my hand, and and I remember I was heading to a friend's house, walking to a friend's house.
Right.
But before I left my apartment, I smoked a bowl.
Absolutely.
So I'm walking out of my apartment, just total space cadet, okay?
Right.
Total space cadet.
Grade A.
And someone was walking down the hall. I didn't pay any attention. Who cares?
Right.
Well, the next day, I run into the guy that I was kind of talking to, and he's like, "Yeah, we're not allowed to talk to you." And I'm like, "Why not?" Our sponsor saw you walking down the hall, and I'm like, "Oh." And it became clear, like, he can't hang out with me, even if that's what I do, because of the sensitivity. And I was like, "Okay, I get it."
Well. Right, and in that I definitely respect and I understand that factor. But the thing is like, there's so many people that are in recovery and their wives drink, or there's so many women.
Can you imagine how difficult that is?
Well, you know what though, it's not as difficult as you would think, depending on what state of mind you're in.
Yeah, that's true.
If you're fragile and you are kind of on the edge of staying clean, and you're not putting in any action into bettering yourself, that's very hard. But when you get to a point in your life, and we call it the 12 steps of the fellowship, when you finish those steps, a drink does not bother me. I can't drink it, but if it's around me, it's not going to bother me. And that's just, and like I was saying, that's reality. People smoke weed. See, in my situation, my good friend was drinking last night. It didn't bother me, And I think that's
your mindset.
right, and that's all about where you're at in your recovery and where you're at in your mind.
Yeah.
You know, if you're fragile and you want to drink or you want to stay sober, but you don't know, and you're halfway in, halfway out, it's uncomfortable.
Right.
You know, but when you got 75 sober people together at a club
It makes
and
it
we're
a
all
lot
drinking
easier.
caffeine, we realize that, listen, you don't need a drink to have fun. You know, I could never tell a girl that I was dating to not drink.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if it's not good for my recovery, then I can't be with her. If I'm okay with it and I'm at a point in my life where it does not bother me, that's fine.
Yeah.
People, the world doesn't stop just because we get sober.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, life
Do you think
goes
a
on.
lot of people think that when they become sober, that all of a sudden everything's hunky-dory?
Absolutely.
Because I feel like, I remember where I heard this. Maybe on Dr. Phil or
Absolutely.
something a long time ago. I don't remember where I heard it, but I probably was. And he was saying to somebody who I think was an alcoholic
Okay.
and was now sober.
Right.
And they couldn't understand why their family was still pissed.
Right.
And Dr. Phil was basically like, listen, just because you got sober doesn't mean that everything that you did that was hurtful suddenly goes away.
Exactly.
You still have to make all of that okay.
Exactly. And that's what a lot of times we think that, oh, we're 30 days clean, we deserve a reward. Unfortunately, that's not reality. You know?
I mean, I think you do, but you don't necessarily deserve a free pass.
And I'm not right. Well, the thing is, I'm not discrediting anybody. 30 days is amazing.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, when we just stole our father's wallet, and we just stole our mother's car, or we just robbed
My
our family
boyfriend stole my laptop from me.
member. Right.
Because I didn't know, because we'd only been dating about a month,
Okay.
I didn't know that he was addicted to crack.
Right.
I had no idea. I went away from the weekend, came back, no laptop.
Well, that's my drug of choice, crack cocaine. Exactly. And a lot of times what we think is, okay, I got sober for 2 weeks. Now she's going to forgive me.
Right.
No, unfortunately, trust is an action.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
Trust is an action word.
Yeah.
When you can prove to
I
somebody.
think love is too.
Oh, 100%. I can throw the word out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But do I love somebody?
Yeah.
And when I love somebody, I'm going to be there regardless.
Right.
No matter what.
Right.
But no, you're absolutely right. A lot of people think that, life is just great now because you're sober. But the reality is, all those things you've been avoiding, they come back.
Right.
And now all of a sudden we don't know how to handle it.
Right.
And we're like, oh my God, life sucks. Because the reality sets in.
What's been the most difficult thing for you to figure out how to handle and how to deal with, since that you didn't have to because you were in this fog before?
I think for me, it really just came down to happiness. I was unhappy. Very unhappy. And I wasn't doing anything to change that. If I woke up and I was depressed, I was depressed. So bad sometimes I'd almost shut all the blinds, I wouldn't leave the house.
Yeah.
And when I got sober this time, I said to myself, life is okay. And I can't take things so serious. So, I just kind of started to look at the little things, like waking up and having a cup of coffee and a cigarette.
Yeah.
And start to appreciate those little things. Because those little things turn into big things.
Yeah.
Before you know, you're waking up and you realize, oh my God, the sky's blue.
Yeah. Hooray!
You don't actually look at what's going on.
Yeah, it's true.
And when you clear up and you get to see, wow, look at the leaves and the sky, and the women are pretty and everything's going good.
Yeah. And they're wearing shorts because it's Florida.
And they're wearing shorts because you're in Delray. Right, everything, it's amazing.
Yeah.
That change.
So it seems like you're becoming passionate about sharing this story, and you're using comedy as a vehicle for that. So do you think your recovery story will always give you subject matter for your comedy? Do you think that'll eventually evolve as you evolve?
That's a good question, because I was talking to someone the other night and saying, listen, there's going to be times where I got to set to go out and talk to nobody that's in recovery and be able to make them laugh, which I'm not saying this in a cocky way. I can, because I like to laugh.
Yeah.
I believe that I bring a good energy to people. But I definitely think my recovery is my heart in doing the comedy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
My recovery persuades me to do the growth.
Well, I think comedians do it best when they speak their own truth.
Definitely, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what somebody said to me last night. I could tell that when you got up here this time, you were talking from your heart.
That's amazing.
Thank
That's
you.
amazing. And a little birdie told me that you're also dabbling in a little bit of podcasting with your friends.
Absolutely.
Tell me all about that. For some reason, I'm very interested in that.
Absolutely.
I can't imagine why.
Michael, me and Michael and our friend Tommy, we started a podcast. Our friend Tommy just overdosed and died. Rest his soul.
Oh my God.
Tommy Bonner, we
When
love
did he
you.
pass?
A couple weeks ago. So me and Mikey.
Oh, so he's one of the 19. I think you mentioned 19 people passed away.
Oh yeah.
in the last
Oh
month or
yeah.
something?
He's one of
Oh
them.
my gosh.
Absolutely. So.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, that's okay. So our podcast, me and Michael, we started a podcast and we would write down topics and we would talk. And we would talk for, it would feel like it was 15 minutes when it was an hour. And we got views and people were chiming in their 2 cents. And, it started conversation. And the reason why I love Adam so much being in the podcast is because he argues. He disagrees a lot. So, right, I get very...
I can just hear it like crinkling in the microphone.
It's very annoying. I will bring so when we started strong. We were talking about topics, sports, politics, which nobody ever agrees on politics. So in my opinion, it was great. It was great because, it just started a conversation.
Of course. Of course.
So I love it. I enjoy it.
What is the name of your podcast? Are you still doing it?
Reality Now.
Ooh, Reality
Now.
Okay.
That's what we do because we speak the truth.
All right.
We talk about the truth. We don't sugarcoat anything. If we have an opinion on something, we share it, and it's great.
Is it therapeutic?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I would say that it's very therapeutic.
I can see that.
Because we can share and we can talk with people, and we can speak how we really feel. And I think by calling it Reality Now is that we're not just living in like radio or talking like in like radio talk. We're
Despite
keeping
your
it at
amazing
100.
radio voice.
Right. Thank you. Right.
Yeah.
So we enjoy it, and I think that it's that also has a great potential to excel.
I think you're going to be great no matter what. I think I feel completely confident that you will maintain your focus, and that really good things are going to continue to happen for you. It seems like, it just seems like you finally figured it out.
Thank you.
Do you feel that way?
I do.
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of progress to be made.
Yeah.
But I'm on that track.
Where do you hope you are in a year?
I hope in a year from now, I living in an apartment with Mike. I got my family in my life. I got my nieces in my life.
Yeah.
My sister can turn to me to any advice in the world. And I'm working in recovery. I'm helping other people. The material things really don't matter. The car, the apartment. Where I see myself in a year is being happy with who I am and helping other people to get there.
It's a great message.
Thank you.
On behalf of myself and everybody who may hear this message and hear your journey now on this podcast or years to come on the comedy stage or your own podcast or what have you, thank you.
Thank you
because
so much.
I feel like when people are in recovery, it's one thing for someone who's never done it, never been in it, never forever, to preach the 12 steps and say this is what you do and blah, blah, blah. It's completely a different thing. When somebody who's been through the fire and come out the other side can put out their hand and say, I got you, here's how I did it, here's what you need to do.
Absolutely.
So I commend you for taking that to heart and really making it an important part of your life.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I really appreciate that.
Yay!
Very nice to meet you.
Would you like to sign off the podcast? It's super easy.
Sure.
All right, so all you're going to say is, or however you want to say it, this is Eddie Wilcox. This has been Curve the Cube.
This is Eddie Wilcox. This has been Curve the Cube.
Yeah! That's right. That's promo material right there.
That's right.
Very good. High five.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You're wonderful.
You are.
Yay!
You have successfully curved the cube.
Well, folks, I really hope you have enjoyed what was the 102nd, oh my gosh, episode number 102 of the Curve the Cube podcast. I'm not sure if you can hear in the background, but there is an ice cream truck circling near me and calling to my temptations at the moment. So I don't know if you can hear it in the background, but that's what that is. Anyways, isn't Eddie wonderful? Oh my gosh, his story is just so powerful about addiction and recovery and how he just views his life fresh and anew, and how he's pursuing something he really loves. And what's really great, and you know, it comes across in the episode, but man, to be around them was just so powerful. How his friends are just so supportive and helping him, and it's just, wow, what a great group of guys, and what a wonderful guest. So thank you to all my listeners for chiming in on this, tuning into this episode, and for Eddie for being a guest, and to Adam for hooking this up. And let's see. Oh, this episode is sponsored by the wonderful ladies at the Pizza Girls. The Pizza Girls is South Florida's best New York style pizza, and they are located in downtown West Palm. So if you are walking down Clematis and taking in the sights, or walking upon the Flagler Beach waterfront, or what have you, Flagler Beach, I mean, that's a thing, but Flagler Inlet waterfront, guess what? Where they intersect, you will find the Pizza Girls, and they are just so good and yummy. And so go in there and have a slice day with Jen and Phoebe. And if you mention the podcast, just say, hey, I listened to Curve the Cube and heard about you. Guess what? They'll give you 10% off. Or if you go to pizzagirls.com and place an order there, you'll also get 10% off. Totally awesome. So check out Pizza Girls. And thank you so much, listeners. I really appreciate all that you do to support the show. And I just ask that you please, if you can, and are so generous, please go to iTunes and leave a comment, or Stitcher and leave a review, or TuneIn, or iHeartRadio. Yay, we're on iHeartRadio now, by the way, guys. Or wherever else you can find the podcast. And please leave a rating or a review, comment of some sort, and that would be awesome. It keeps us in the rankings and gives me great feedback, so I appreciate it all. So thank you so much, listeners. This has been Jemmy with the 102nd episode of Curve the Cube podcast with up-and-coming king of comedy, Eddie Wilcox. Thanks, guys.